Hello everyone, Commander Josh Hawkins here, and I'm sending this broadcast back to you once again, in hopes that it reaches you with news of my travels thus far. I am thankfully still alive, though I've been wandering now for days, lost in our cosmic backyard with no set destination in mind. And as I voyage across these cosmos, I have only the stars and planets to keep me company. By sending this message back to you, I feel a little closer to home. The vastness of space had begun to overwhelm me as I spent the better part of the past week over 1,500 light-years below the galactic plane, wandering through what seemed like boundless fields of neutron stars. With every jump, the stars ahead grew more sparse as I traveled further downwards and away from the densely populated spiral arms of our galaxy. With the massive dust lanes above me and the ever-darkening sky below, each system began to feel more and more isolated against the beautiful darkness of the cosmic void. Though part of me wanted to keep going, I knew eventually I would reach an impasse, so I gathered my wits and set a new course for brighter skies, and now I'm making my way towards the core. Welcome to Part 3 of Exploring the Milky Way Galaxy. Almost 1,000 years ago, our ancestors set sail across the oceans of Earth and charted much of our planet during what was known as the Age of Discovery. But during this time, though we had given them many different names, we knew nothing about the stars in the sky. It wasn't until the 1600s and the invention of the telescope that we finally realized that we were not the center of the universe. With the contributions of some of the greatest minds during the scientific revolution, we finally began to understand our place in the cosmos. 300 years later, human civilization stood at the threshold of a new era as we sent the first human explorers into space. And when we finally landed on the moon, we applauded our incredible success, even though we still knew very little about our own solar system.
Small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
In the year 2033, human civilization was in crisis. Our fossil fuels had run dry, our planet suffered from overpopulation, and corporations controlled everything. It didn't take much to spark the conflict, which escalated rapidly into World War III. The loss of life was tremendous and unimaginable. But the war caused a boom in industry, research, and development, and although the Earth's delicate biosphere lay in ruins, and our environment suffered dreadful damage, we made incredible technological advancements which opened the doors to commercial fusion power. Realizing the devastation we had caused to our home planet, the war was eventually abandoned and the remaining corporations began rebuilding what was left. Our planet, now almost uninhabitable, we set our sights towards the sky and established a permanent base on the moon and eventually Mars. With the resources of all humanity now focused exclusively on space travel, it wasn't long until we discovered hyperspace. Suddenly, the stars we knew so little about before were now within our reach. Exploring the unknown is part of our nature. We're driven to explore and discover new places, to push the boundaries of our scientific and technical limits, and then push further. This intangible desire to explore and challenge these boundaries has provided knowledge and benefits to our society for centuries. But not everyone is cut out for the job. Space travel is a dangerous undertaking, and it requires more than just the desire to see what's out there if you want to return to tell your tale. The universe is filled with pitfalls and traps at every frameshift jump, and you'll need your wits about you lest you accidentally fly into a star's corona or get too close to a black hole. Even with an automated field repair unit, there's only so much damage your ship can sustain before you'll need to tuck your tail and head for home, and each little mistake takes its toll. For new explorers, your best bet is to pick someplace close to home for your first journey out of the bubble. A short trip, 2 to 3 days is a good start, but even this can end up being too much for some people. Picking a destination close to home will allow you to get a taste of what space exploration is all about, while still retaining some aspects of safety, although I use the term loosely, since even a close destination can still present many challenges to the novice explorer. With no stations to repair your ship, you're left entirely dependent on your own skills as a pilot to ensure your safe return home. And the further you go, the more dangerous your journey becomes. For many centuries, we've known that extreme isolation is physically bad for us. It causes high blood pressure, makes you more vulnerable to infection, and increases the likeliness of developing dementia. But these are things that we explorers don't concern ourselves with. What you might not realize, however, is that the isolation of deep space also interferes with many of our everyday functions, like our sleep patterns, attention to detail, and logical reasoning. With your judgment and senses impaired, the risk of disaster increases significantly. As you delve deeper into the unknowns of our galaxy and travel further from inhabited space, your isolation will become more and more apparent. What might have started out as a fun trip to the nearest nebula can turn into a nightmare as your mind tries to fill in for the lack of human contact. Flashes of light, voices coming from the back of your ship, and in extreme cases, even hallucinations, are only some of the things that you need to worry about. Once you set off into space, you can't just step outside to get some fresh air. You'll need to find your own way to keep yourself grounded in reality as you leave everything and everyone you know behind to set off into the great unknown. Believe me when I tell you that a spaceship is not the best place to have a panic attack. Although you will be isolated, you will never be truly alone. You'll be kept company by the marvels that our Milky Way has to offer, and your survival will depend on your ability to stay sharp and focused. Your perseverance will be rewarded with sights that no one else in the entire galaxy has ever seen, and even though our home will be lost amongst the billions of stars that glitter across the night sky, just remember that you are not lost. You are an explorer. I hope you like this transmission, and please don't forget to subscribe so you know when I send off my next broadcast. Commander Josh Hawkins, signing off.